Hello and welcome. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Steph.
And we are your hosts for the Star Trek Deep Space Nine Parmach cast.
Parmach, of course, being the Klingon word for love.
Because on this podcast, we believe that love will save the world.
And that the Deep Space Nine crew are all in a massive polyamorous relationship web.
That too. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 8 of the podcast, where we will be covering Deep Space Nine, season 1, episode 8, The Passenger.
Hell yeah, brother.
How you doing, Steph?
I'm all right. It was a little bit of a rough week, but I'm feeling better already. How about you?
A little bit stressy, depressy this week.
A little bit. The old depression.
That's
She was heading up.
rearing her ugly head. I feel that. I get that. This week was not too bad for me. I had a lot going on. I was chaperoning prom at school, which was exciting, and also it was the finale this week of the show that has absolutely destroyed my life, Andor, the latest Star Wars prequel, spin-off, whatever you want to call it. It almost feels silly to say that because it feels like it's like everything else is a spin-off or prequel of this.
And I'm in trouble still because I still haven't watched any of it.
It's less in trouble with me and more in trouble with like your immortal soul. Like I don't know how you explain
to be
these
saved,
shortcomings
to
Saint Peter.
Ascend to a higher plane. I need to watch Andor.
Did I get this right? Is it Saint Peter? Is that the one at the? You know this stuff.
Oh,
right?
at the pearly gates.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe it's Peter.
Hell yeah.
But haha, I have an out because my partner's named Peter, so I already have an in.
Dang it. You can put in a good word with the Peter up top. Well, so it's been a pretty interesting week. I would say for those Trekkie folks out there who have not dipped their toes in the Star Wars pond, totally fair, totally understandable. I think there's a lot of things thematically that are very, very different about what is being engaged with these different star media. But I would say Andor is probably the best TV show I've ever seen. It is so fucking good. It's saying so much about resisting fascism and what it is to be a person under a fascist system, and the ways that love and community are the only things that can ultimately in the long run defeat fascism. And in that way I find it very in conversation with Deep Space Nine, even though the tones are very different, I would say.
Love will save the world.
Love will save the world. Exactly. Plus, I just want to see Kira go hop in an X-Wing and blow up some shit. I feel like
that's the crossover we need and deserve.
Right? And now every time I picture the Bajoran resistance, it's just those Yavin pyramids.
I love it.
Feels very Bajoran matte painting in that way.
We love a great both genres, Star Wars and Star Trek. They love a matte painting.
Yeah. So, anyways, to bring it back to our episode for this week, like we said, we are talking about The Passenger, which is an interesting episode.
I feel it's pretty solid overall. It's definitely interesting.
Okay. I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. I was really not necessarily looking forward to this episode. I had memories of finding it really grating on the soul to watch. And there are parts of it that are, but there are parts of it that are a lot of fun, and I'm excited to hone in on those and talk about them with the same jubilant enthusiasm you have come to expect from this show. Before we dive in, Steph, what taste buds are being titillated here by this episode?
Oh Lord, what a phrase. I think we've got kind of a combo here.
Yeah.
It's a bit of Bashir's Anatomy, and it's a bit of Odo's Mystery Hour. We've got like a mystery happening. We got to figure out who's the bad guy.
Yeah, it certainly touches on the themes from both of those.
For sure.
I went with in mine Terrible Hotel Guests in Space, even though it is
classic,
still sort of outside of the like most general, most obvious version of that trope. I still feel like it's like someone is on the station that's not supposed to be and is causing problems,
and they're causing
right?
problems.
Yes, exactly.
They're here to
it's
cause
very
problems.
like we've talked about like the first like 8 to 15 episodes of TOS where
Yeah.
it's just like something got in here.
Something's in here and it's a problem.
Yeah. Okay. So I think any of that could be right. I stand by Terrible Hotel Guests in Space, but I'm not gonna fight you over it if you feel strongly. Yeah, we don't have to break out like the big giant Q-tips and whack each other on top of.
I
a
have my
balance
Riker
beam.
armor just like over here.
So this episode, it was directed by Paul Lynch, teleplay by Robert Hewitt Wolf and Michael Piller, and it was released on February 20th, 1993, a Saturday.
Love it. And we open on Kira and Julian in a roundabout, returning to the station from a medical mission. Kira reluctantly admits she was impressed by Bashir's competence after he successfully resuscitated a woman that their tricorder had pronounced dead. Bashir tells Kira that she's right to be impressed and that he impressed himself, giving an absolutely insufferable speech about his singular gift as a healer.
Kira is trying so hard to simply have a normal conversation with this man, and it's killing her because he's so annoying, and still he can't help himself, right? Like, she's like meeting him in the middle, and he's like, no, you don't understand.
Her face as he goes into this speech is just like, I am so full of regret for saying this.
Never give this man his laurels ever again.
Literally
She's like
never.
making a note about it.
Also, Nana's delivery of, I feel privileged to be in your presence, fucking killed me.
No one has a one-liner delivery like motherfucking Nana
It's so
Visitor.
true. It's
Queen
so
of my
true.
heart, queen of space.
So true.
So Kira is about to tell Julian all about himself when they receive a distress call from the Kobliad transport ship Rayab. Kira and Julian beam aboard to find that the transport systems have been disabled by a fire raging on board. And I really feel like we should have like Starfleet portable breathing apparatuses by now, because they beam in and immediately Julian's like, oh, there's all this toxic mumbo jumbo in the atmosphere. And we've only got 10 minutes of oxygen to blah, blah, blah.
We have oxygen masks now in
Right
2025.
now, yes.
Like, why are you not using those?
Yeah. It just feels like we're creating drama for the sake of drama.
Yeah.
And I'm not the kind of person that can complain about that and not sound like a hypocrite. But I nonetheless feel like we could get some oxygen masks on these runabouts.
I agree. So Bashir resuscitates the nearest unconscious crew person, a Kobliad woman named Tai Kajada. Julian asks if there's anyone else on board, and although she says the pilot is dead, his tricorder detects another life form behind a locked door.
And so Kajada's warning Julian, like, not to open the door, that the man inside is prisoner who started the fire in an attempt to escape. And over her protests, Bashir overrides the door lock and inside finds a dying Kobliad male, the prisoner, Rayo Vantica. And I just add, as Julian's opening the door, Kajada is like laying on the ground over there, just sort of singing to the tune of Mama, I'm a Big Girl Now. Stop. No, please. Stop. Don't. No, please. And Julian's condescending paternalism really is the action engine of this entire episode, because he does not listen to her heartfelt pleas.
He does not. He's like, this sign can't stop me because I can't read.
Can't read, never learned to read, can't read the sign. He's very much the Leah Michelle of Deep Space Nine in that way.
So true, bestie. So Kira returns with fire suppression gear, some great big gloves.
I loved those.
Excellent gloves. She looks like she's about to work on the grill, like flip some burgers. But anyway, she returns with the fire suppression gear and extinguishes the fire. She prepares all 4 of them for emergency transport back to the runabout. Before she can give the order to energize, Vantica seizes Bashir by the throat and pulls him close. As Kira tries to pry his hand loose, Vantica growls, "Make me live," before losing consciousness. "This one I can't bring back," Bashir remarks over Vantica's lifeless body.
Which, little on the nose.
Not
Anyways,
at all ominous.
You know, whatever.
fine.
Theme song. Moving on.
Don't worry about it.
Back on Deep Space Nine, Bashir revives Kajada in the infirmary, and upon awakening, Kajada immediately begins asking about her prisoner. Julian tells her that Vantika's dead, and Kajada insists on examining the body herself.
So Julian pulls Vantika's body out of cryo storage, assuring her that he is quite dead. Kajada explains that she has tracked Vantika for over 20 years, during which time he has faked his death more times than she can count.
And she has this great little line here where she tells him, the last time that someone thought he was dead, they didn't live to regret that mistake. And I'm like, bam! Make him regret his actions! Also, right out of the gate, this is a very strong performance from Caitlin Brown as Ty Kajada. I really like her. I really like this character.
She's excellent.
Is definitely a strong point in this episode for me.
Absolutely.
So she explains to Julian that Vantika was a monster and a genius, and basically his whole MO was killing others and using twisted science to prolong his own life.
So after scanning Vantika's retinas to confirm once and for all that he is brain dead, Kajada shocks Julian by coolly stabbing the corpse in the chest with a scalpel. And then she calmly requests that Julian perform an autopsy of the body and confirm its identity with a DNA reference scan. A shaken Bashir agrees.
I truly love how much Julian cannot wait to get away from this woman.
It's so
a first for him with women.
He's just like, I don't know what to do with this energy at all.
And I feel like, personally, it's long since time. I'm glad we're finally getting a big, scary lady to step on Bashir. I think it's, overdue.
It's truly.
So we cut to Quark's, where Quark is serving Jadzia an iced Ractigino and pretending to have manners. And Odo, looking on, gives Quark a signature Odo scoff and asks what makes him think he'd ever have a chance with a woman like that. And they sort of, bicker back and forth as husbands do, with Quark accusing Odo of thinking everyone in the galaxy should be as lonely and miserable as he is. And there is this one line where Odo's says to him, I think every man on the station would want to buy Jadzia a Ractigino, and Quark goes, but I'm the one with the Ractigino machine. And it's a great fucking line, but I'm wondering, should we be annoying and take this as explicit canonical confirmation that the replicators and crew quarters don't serve Ractiginos? Back to our economy quarter section.
Okay, but don't people get Ractiginos in the Replimat?
Yes, they do for sure.
But maybe not the crew quarters.
Yes, yeah. So it's like, do you have to go to a restaurant to get a Ractigino?
I think we're probably reading too much into it, but I like when we do that. So
I don't think there's any chance we're not, and yet I continue to demand it. So
I also love Quark's line, there's nothing wrong with a good delusion. And yeah, Delulu is the Salulu, for real.
I also loved Odo's line, I wouldn't intrude on her privacy as some would. And then all I could think of was the meme from the animated series where Kirk is putting his hand over his mouth ooh, bitch.
I need you all to know that Jamie put this in the notes document. Jim is there oh.
Gagged him.
Gagged him. So good. So Odo turns the tables on Quark after their bickering, accusing him of just wanting things he can't have, including a certain Duridium shipment.
Oh, you thought I was just here for gossip, but you thought wrong. I'm here for Matthew McConaissance, bitch. My roommate in college and I invented that term. It's
That's
what you
incredible.
do when you have to go off and you do Matthew McConaissance and you report back.
Incredible.
And that's really just what Odo's doing here.
Exquisite.
I also had the part where he tells him, I'm watching you, Quark, is very always watching, Wazowski.
It is the same energy.
They are the goo.
They are.
Monsters, Inc. knew if you want security, you best have a goo.
It's so true. So this gets the attention of an unfamiliar Starfleet officer in a security gold uniform sitting at the bar. Quark goes off to fawn over Jadzia some more, and the officer approaches Odo, asking sarcastically if he always gets ready for an important operation by leaking word of it to the local black market.
This fucking bitch. And so a typically prickly Odo tells the Starfleet stuffed shirt to stay the hell out of his business, but the man introduces himself as Lieutenant George Primman with Starfleet Security and tells him that they need to talk about the Duridium shipment. Odo insists the security arrangements have been settled, but at Primman's insistence, schedules a meeting for the two of them to go over the details. It's just, why must Starfleet always be all up in my goo, man?
I love Odo being like, if you insist. Girl, your method of security is telling your boyfriend about about important shipments.
And it is a foolproof system, Steph. When has this ever gone wrong for them?
Literally never.
I
It's
cannot
fine.
name a single time because I can't remember anything that's happened. Cut to ops, where Julian reports that despite Kajada's concerns and Vantika's track record, he is certain that the criminal mastermind is really dead this time. Oh, sure. Kajada warned the crew that Vantika was on his way to Deep Space Nine when she captured him. And Sisko and Dax reveal that the Duridium is necessary to treat the Kobliad's unstable cellular structure and prolong their lives.
So, with the demand for Duridium far outstripping the available supply, the crew deduced that Vantika must have been headed to DS9 to hijack the shipment that is coming in from the Gamma Quadrant. Bashir says Kajada still isn't convinced that Vantika is truly dead, so Sisko agrees to her request to scan her ship for life forms. He also warns the crew to be on guards for signs of a potential accomplice or accomplices of Vantika preparing to hijack the ship.
Yeah. And as they're sort of talking about all of this, there's a lot of discussion about, like, you know, Kajada's paranoia. Like, you know, she has the line where she's been chasing after Vantika for 20 years now, which she's not that old. So that must have been like
Her first assignment.
Her first assignment, and has just been doing this for the last 20 years. And Dax has the line, you know, in a way, they were more intimately connected than any two beings could be. And I just said, all right, Victor Hugo.
This was a great moment because Jamie and I do our notes like separately, and often they intersect, as I'm sure you all have picked up on. And I literally was like, okay, Javert, like.
It is extremely Les Miserables in ways that are difficult to parse without spending the entire time talking about that,
Yes.
but it's good.
So Primin arrives in Ops, and he's escorted to Sisko's office for a meeting, much to Kira's stank-eye chagrin.
Nana visitor. Kira's face here is just so fucking good. The
It's
way
so
she
good.
narrows her eyes at him. She does not appreciate this Starfleet hayseed getting all up in goo business, which is her job.
Obviously. She's so mad about it. It's incredible.
Also, her little silent beats here just do so much storytelling. Like, when she finally looks away from Sisko and Primin, she is so sad and angry. And she looks to Jadzia and Julian as if to be like, can you believe this bullshit?
This
Only
bitch.
to, in like a split second, realize, of course they can believe this bullshit. She's the only one that knows Odo well enough to know how much this hurts him. And she's just alone in that right now. And it's very sad, but it's such a good moment of silent storytelling from Nana. And I love that moment and that
It's
beat.
really good. So Primin comes into the meeting with a lot to say about Odo, but Sisko quickly makes it clear to him that he has complete faith in Odo's abilities and that Primin could stand to learn a few things from our constable.
Primin starts off by going, if you want my opinion, and Sisko cuts him off and goes, actually, I don't. And I'm like, gag him!
Gag him!
He also has this great moment of just reminding Primin, you and I are guests of the Bajorans, Lieutenant. And it just is a great moment of insight into Ben's character. He sees respecting this fact as very, very, very important to what Starfleet is doing here. And he doesn't have the time of day for anyone who thinks that they are better than the Bajoran militia just because of, you know, their Starfleet training and they went to the academy and all that. Even, I think the line he says to Primin is, you don't have to forget everything you learned at your academy. At the academy, just don't go throwing it in people's faces. And I loved that.
Yeah, I wrote that line down too. That's a really great window.
Sorry, I didn't see you had already written that down.
It's all good. It's a great window into Ben and how he approaches his command of this station
Absolutely.
and the shared responsibility of it.
And you are also right. It is such a hot moment for him. I saw that you wrote that.
I just put Ben is so hot, which is, to be fair, my note a lot of the times when Ben is on screen.
But like that is really when he's at his hottest, is when he is like standing up for his goo, for his babies. Like he is Zaddy in
He's
this
zaddy.
show. And
He's zaddy in so many ways.
Truly. So Sisko then brings Primin up to speed on the potential plot to steal the Duridium shipment, and he assigns him to work with Odo and Kajada to prevent it. In the security office, Primin starts his meeting with Odo by attempting to apologize for them getting off on the wrong foot. He makes a genuine effort, but Odo does still seem frustrated at having to work with this man, and I really appreciated Primin's approach here. It felt to me like he really heard Sisko and that he realized he had fucked up coming in like he owns the place.
It's a really genuinely good apology.
It is, and I don't think that means that he is not someone who has kind of like a slightly fucked up worldview when it comes to these like deep space systems that like he thinks he's probably like better than a lot of these people. But I'm not looking for these people to be perfect. Like that's a very human thing. And I like if this was like a real workplace situation, like I'm not expecting somebody to change their entire worldview overnight. I just need to know that they can like one, keep a handle on it, and two, acknowledge that it was disrespectful, right? And I feel like that's what he does here. So I was impressed.
And Odo's trying to accept it, but he's still a little Odo-y, which, you know.
Odo gonna Odo.
Odo gonna Odo. So as Odo and Primmin attempt to access the security plans on the computer, they discover they're unable to. A call to ops confirms that everything in active memory has been accessed and purged.
Which seems really bad.
I was like, wait, they deleted everything?
Yeah, they just reset to factory settings or something.
Kajada, standing in the doorway, reveals that Vantika did the exact same thing on Rigel 7.
This bitch is just waiting in the shadows to make a cunty entrance, and I extremely respect her for that.
You know, we live for the drama, and she literally is just waiting for her cue. Oh, it's possible.
And how long was she waiting there?
How long was she there? The world may never know.
We got to ops where Kajada is addressing the entire senior staff, and she sort of explains that Vantika usually pulls this active memory sabotage trick by planting a subspace shunt into a non-essential system that would be overlooked by security checks, like the lighting system or something like that. And there's a moment when Odo and Primmin both call security to have them go investigate, and the moment itself is great, but what really knocks it out of the park is just how annoyed Rene Auberjonois is able to make Odo seem. Like literally steam is coming off of him. And when he has these acting moments, I'm just reminded of like how much of his face is fucking plastic right now. And he is still able to do that. Incredible. Like all the awards for Rene Auberjonois.
Truly, truly. I also have to say it's another great Nana face acting moment. Like her face, she's amused, but she's kind of annoyed on Odo's behalf, but she's like, I gotta keep a lid on it. We're being professional.
Oh, I wish I was wearing a face mask to this meeting because I can't keep it under control. So then Cisco questions whether it wouldn't make more sense for an accomplice of Vantika's to have placed the shunt, but Kajada explains that Vantika is absolutely obsessed with his own survival and would never have started the fire on her ship if he hadn't had a way out. And this woman's great. This woman is great. Why is she so much better at her job than all of you? Like, that's a great point. Why would he have set the fire if he didn't have a plan to survive? Dumbasses.
She's got him.
I feel like she is set up to be like, I feel like the episode is positioning her as like an unlikable shrew that's like being overly paranoid and like blah, blah, blah. And she's just like 100% right in everything she says.
All the way through.
And I find her extremely likable. So this is just one of those things where like 90s attitudes, I think, sometimes come full circle in a way. Like it's almost a little Keiko where it's like she's sort of positioned as this like unlikable character in some ways. But I think in 2025, she's just like a woman who speaks her mind. And fuck yeah, we need more of those. Yeah. So I like her.
So impressed by her arguments, as we are, Cisco instructs the crew that until they receive the DNA confirmation of Vantika's death, they will proceed under the assumption that he is alive. And Odo asks to have a private word with Cisco in his office, and upon arriving, immediately attempts to resign.
It's so funny. He's like, here's my resignation, and Cisco goes, you're overreacting. And I just really love how these two actors in this scene are able to inject some of the familiarity that the two characters have developed so far this season into this scene and this whole little exchange. I mean, Benjamin really understands now how sensitive Odo is and how badly he needs and depends on Odo's expertise.
It's a great scene. Also, the fact that Constable is an expression of affection that Kira started. Bury me where I fucking fall.
It's so good. They love each other so much. And so Benjamin tells Odo that he likes him, that he likes always knowing where they stand, and that he needs him to stay on as security chief and work with Primmin. And there's this little exchange where Ben says, you two are going to have to find a way to get along. And Odo says, tell him that. And Cisco goes, I already have. It's like very parenting.
It's such big dad energy in this scene. So Odo asks him straight up which one of them is in charge. And Cisco explains that in the case of joint Bajoran Starfleet ops, Odo is. Trying not to look too pleased, Odo admits, I can live with that. and departs.
I love how much Avery allows Cisco to enjoy giving Odo this news. It's like he's not, whoopee, but like they're the little tug at the corner of his mouth.
Yes.
He really just like, it's so good.
They're both just chef's kiss in
Chef's
this
kiss
scene.
indeed.
So we cut to Dax's lab, where Cisco asks her to go over the results of the sensor sweep of Kajada's ship with him. Dax tells him the sweep yielded no anomalous readings, but that she did notice that someone had apparently attempted to break into the ship's cargo hold after it docked at Deep Space Nine.
Dun, dun, dun!
Dax thinks they may have been looking for an isolinear chip she found in Vantika's personal belongings, which seems to contain a map, quote, of the humanoid brain.
Which, are humanoids broadly similar enough to one another that a statement like that makes any sense?
No.
Like, even with humans and Vulcans, who are known to be very similar to one another, one of those brains is telepathic and one of them isn't. Like, that's gotta be different structurally.
I was like, there are like 50 bazillion, quote, humanoids. And also, what is our criteria for humanoid anyway? Like, 4 limbs and a head?
It feels like more of like a makeup special effects classification than a like
actual
yeah.
biological one. Yeah.
I also noted in this scene, Dax calls him Vantika, which is just not his name, and I was like, Terry, come on, you've been in this whole episode.
You've been here the whole time.
Vantika Masala. Anyways. In a darkened after-hours Quark is on his hands and knees collecting loose change from the floor when suddenly he is seized from behind.
And it's not Odo.
It's not Odo. And in the moment when we like pan into it, there's a Ferengi waiter just like cleaning a random pole, which I found very funny. Because it's like when a director tells you just like find busy.
something to do.
Yeah, and he's making that pole shine.
It's the best pole in that whole damn bar.
Damn straight.
So Quark's mysterious assailant asks if he has made, quote, the preparations, reminding Quark that he was supposed to hire mercenaries to help him steal the Duridium shipment.
And whoever this is that has grabbed Quark is wearing these long black gloves, like for the purposes of identity concealment, I guess.
And crime.
But I was like, are these the same gloves from A Man Alone? When
they leave them around.
When you just see the arm with the knife like coming in.
They leave them around for that week's criminal.
Right. Whenever somebody needs to just be arms menacing from the shadows. You gotta get the gloves.
He's just arms, menacingly.
I wonder if they're like programmed under the replicators like committing crimes section.
Deception gloves.
It's like, these are perfect. No one will know it's your hands.
So Quark, confused, says he did reach out to the mercenaries, but protests that Vantika is supposed to be dead. The voice whispers, almost, but not quite, before flinging Quark against the wall and flitting away into the night like the Phantom of the Opera.
And so Julian calls Kajada to the infirmary, and he triumphantly shows her the final results of the DNA comparison. Every conceivable test has been run and confirms that the Kobliad man in the morgue is dead and that he is Reo Vantika. To his amazement, Kajada still isn't convinced. Julian is about to try and argue with her when he is called away by Jadzia for a consult. And we also in this scene basically set up Kajada as a suspect here by having Julian talk about how he tried to call her last night to, give her this information, but he couldn't reach her. He just couldn't get through. It's a little clumsy.
A little. Also, I just love that once again, HIPAA, never heard of her.
Never heard of her in space.
Julian is telling a guy like, okay, next time, lift with your legs, basically, when Kajada walks in.
I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I do find the Federation and Starfleet's disregard for personal privacy interesting on like a political level. It's almost a question of like, if our systems looked different, if finances didn't exist, if like personal property and personal finances and like all of these things weren't treated as private institutionally from this perspective of like, I don't know, that people can like weaponize it against you if they have access to your finances. Like, what would a society's reputation to privacy look like? And I do think it would look very different. I mean, you can
That's fair.
The Starfleet computer on most installations lets you like, hey, where is this person? And they'll just tell you, which is like kind of wild. But if you think about it, if you try and remove yourself as much as possible from our modern context, it's also a little bit like, why wouldn't they? Like,
There's a degree of trust.
Yeah.
We love a utopia.
Yeah, absolutely. But it makes for interesting things about like, oh yeah, what things are outmoded by utopia, you know? And like a little bit, I think HIPAA might be one of those things, because it's like, yeah, who cares that you like sprained your back lifting that box? Like it just doesn't really matter in the way that it does now here today.
That's fair.
I don't know. That
That's
struck me
fair.
as interesting.
No, that's a good point. So Julian runs off to Dax. And Dax shows Julian Vantika's computer models from the chip and theorizes that he developed a means of transferring his consciousness into another's brain. Bashir says that such a thing is theoretically possible, and that if Vantika succeeded, his most likely host is Kajada, the nearest available Kobliad. And we get a Spock mention!
We sure do. We get Jadzia asks him, you know, like, this is sort of my theory. Like, have you ever heard of anything like this? And Bashir tells her, well, the closest thing I've encountered is synaptic pattern displacement, but that's never been done by a non-Vulcan, which is a reference to Search for Spock when Spock implants his entire Ka in the brain of his good butt lover, Leonard McCoy.
His bestie and butt lover, Dr. Leonard Horatio McCoy, a.k.a.
Is his middle name actually Horatio? That
Yeah.
fucking slaps. That's so good.
Leonard Horatio McCoy, that's his middle name.
I love that so fucking much.
Like, they were like, what's the gayest guy in Shakespeare? And made it Bones' middle name. Beautiful.
Oh, it's tremendous. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I might have messed up writing the recap, but the chip we're talking about is Dax found like a microchip in
The cargo hold.
the cargo hold.
It got mentioned.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So
I also put when they're like having this discussion about like, oh well, what if, you know, he was like hiding in her mind the entire time? I just said, what if the real Jean Valjean was inside Inspector Javert all along?
And I said, arguably, Valjean is inside Javert at some point.
Hey! Also, hearing Jadzia explain all of this, like oh, we're taking like synaptic waves and moving them over into another brain, blah, blah, blah. It all feels it sounds very Trill, which I thought was interesting, having her be the one to explain this.
Yeah.
So Dax and Bashir present their theory to a quite skeptical Sisko, who says it simply doesn't make sense for Vantika to spend so much energy trying to convince them that he's alive, as Kajada has been, right? Like, if she was him,
why would she
just be like, all right, cool, yeah, he's dead, good job, guys.
Okay, bye.
Which this feels like a conversation lifted straight from the writer's room from an earlier draft where Kajada was maybe supposed to be Vantika.
That's,
where it's like, oh, no, we poked a hole in that. Let's just throw it in. Fill some time.
Yeah. So Bashir explains that, according to their theory, Vantika is only controlling Kajada part of the time.
Right.
The rest of the time, he's simply along for the ride, and Kajada isn't even aware of his presence, which, to be fair, is what happens with Spock's Katra.
Yes, yeah. It's very much a ride-along situation.
So Sisko asks for proof of their theory, and Dax says they can't know what to look for until they have a better idea as to how Vantika accomplished the transfer.
So they basically decide that until they have that evidence, Kajada has to be sort of cut out of the security arrangements for the Duridium shipment, and they're all, you know, oh, she's not going to like that. And Dax says, you know, what do we tell her? And Odo goes, nothing. She'll figure it out, and when she does, send her to me. And I just love, he is so ready to play bad goo. He loves that part of the job.
He does. And speaking of, he's in his office when Kajada storms in, demanding to know why he's revoked her security access. Odo tells her that out of caution, he has limited access to all information regarding the Duridium shipment to 4 people: himself, Primin, Kira, and Sisko.
Which is like not unreasonable. Like,
It's
I don't
not.
know that more than those people need to know. Also, probably not this complete stranger that you met today.
Yeah.
Like... and Kajada also has this line where she goes, what kind of fool are you? And Odo goes, my own special variety.
I love that line. It's so funny.
He's so sassy.
So Kajada tells Odo that she hopes he's at least keeping an eye on Quark, which, girl, of course he is.
Always.
Who is exactly the kind of goon that Vantika would use in his plans before she storms out.
And very interesting little detail here that it seems unlike all the other Trek universe doors, which have motion sensors and just kind of slide open when you try and go through them, the security office door requires Odo to buzz you out. And I love that little detail because it makes so much sense from a world building perspective that the security office would have like a restricted access.
I think it's also a power move. Odo's like, you'll leave when I say you can leave.
Yeah, 100%. Because she sort of turns away from him like, we're done here, and then stares at the door impatiently while he takes a second to buzz her out.
It's great. Great moment.
So, still suspicious of Quark, Kajada decides to spy on him, and so she goes to the upper level of the bar after closing and is watching on as Quark is meeting with a group of mercenaries. Suddenly, as if pushed, Kajada screams and hangs from the third floor balcony railing just before losing her grip and falling 2 stories to the ground. Dun dun dun! And this is a good little shocking moment, but I just wanted to note that Quark's face here is so funny. Like, he is the math woman meme doing the mental calculations on all the conversations with security and probably his insurance company that he's gonna have now, because you know the Ferengi are still doing insurance.
Oh, for sure. And also he'll have to argue with the like adjuster because they don't want to cover any claims.
Who's probably fucking Brunt. All right, anyways.
So in the infirmary, Kajada manages to get out the words pushed and Vantika before Bashir sedates her to mitigate the risk of permanent paralysis. Sisko theorizes that Kajada may have tried to kill herself after realizing she was carrying Vantika around with her.
Which I thought was kind of a wild jump.
Okay, I didn't catch that he thought it was because she realized Vantika was like in her brain. I thought he jumped right to suicide, and I was like, "Girl, what?"
Like maybe on top of all of this,
maybe
she
she's
was depressed.
also suicidal, and maybe she's sad. Like I was like, "Wait, whoa, back it up."
Oh, that's so funny. I didn't think about that.
I did not catch that at all. So I was just like, "Why are you jumping to that?"
That's so fair. That does seem really out of the blue. I mean, even with the like carrying Vantika around with her part, it still feels kind of out of the blue.
Yeah,
but whatever.
It was very out of left field with that one.
So in the stasis room, which seems to be the space word for the morgue,
they also call it the morgue, though.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. So it's both.
Interesting.
I guess.
Oh. Benjamin finds Dax taking samples from under Vantika's fingernails, saying that she thinks she has figured out what Vantika's transfer method was. A bio-coded cellular message capable of being transmitted along a humanoid nervous system directly to the brain.
Normally, the most effective means of transfer would be direct injection, but without any needles or hyposprays on board, Vantika used a microscopic electrical generator to fire, quote-unquote, the message into the nervous system. Vantika hid the device under his fingernail as a last-ditch plan of escape, kind of along the lines of like cyanide in the tooth. Dax tells Ben that now they know what they're looking for, so they should be able to confirm whether Vantika is controlling Kajada with a simple scan. And I love when Ben's like, "Nice work, Dax," and she's like, she's so pleased. She loves to do science.
We cut to the docking ring where Quark leads 3 mercenaries to one of the runabout pads, explaining that their mysterious employer managed to access one and is waiting for them on board. And I do just love how 0% cool these mercenaries look. Like, no tactical gear, nothing armored at all, just like a lot of silly purple fabric.
It's giving Space Pirate. Like, one of them has a headscarf and like jewelry. It's giving like Pirates of the Caribbean.
It is. And I think they must have gotten a really good deal on that purple fabric at Joanne's at the start of the first season because they use it a lot.
We love a good purple.
Also, R.I.P. Joanne's fabric.
Rip. Should have been you, Hobby Lobby. Should have been you.
Capitalism.
So Quark opens the door to the runabout and immediately begins to backpedal when he sees Dr. Bashir standing there.
This is a very funny moment.
Bashir steps forward and with a cold smile and very strange inflection tells them that he has been expecting them.
Weirdly, I think that the acting here of Sid as Julian as Vantika works way better before he starts speaking.
Yeah.
Like when he turns around, there is a coldness to him that is so un-Julian-like.
Yes.
And for a second, it is actually really menacing.
It is.
And then he opens up his mouth.
Yeah. He's so obviously different just from the physicality.
Yeah.
It's great physical acting from Siddig.
Absolutely. So we cut to the infirmary where Dax arrives looking for Julian. When she can't find him, she has the computer track his comm badge and discovers it there in the infirmary without Julian.
I love that we have comm badge location shenanigans again.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that we did this last. And this time it's a Starfleet officer doing the crimes.
Yep.
But it feels really like it hammers home the point from the Dax episode about them needing other ways to track their people when their comm badges are taken off. Because it seems like it happens relatively often.
It's an easy thing to take off. You're just like, whoop.
Clickety-clack. Whoop.
So Odo meets with Kira's team and is surprised to find that Primin is not working alongside them as ordered. When Odo finds Primin, the lieutenant explains that he's decided to take a page from Odo's book and tried to think like Vantika. This led him to discover a second subspace shunt hidden in the waste extraction system, which would have disabled the station for close to an hour.
Feels like, unfortunately, Primin has really just been here the whole time to be a red herring, because, like, up until the reveal that he found the subspace shunt, it was like, where were you? What were you up to? Blah, blah, blah. But I actually kind of like him. He seems like he mostly means well, and it's a lot of fun watching Odo put him in his place when necessary. I definitely remember the first time I watched it, I did not like him, because obviously he's not designed to be super likable.
Sure.
But I think in, my old age, I am attracted to characters that challenge our heroes, and Primin, while not being a bad guy, is like naive and sheltered, and I think that's a fun perspective to have amongst the group, So
I also like that Odo is like, all right, respect, good job.
Yeah. And he tells Cisco, like, your guy just really saved our butts, which I really like.
I love that. So in ops, the senior officers prepare to carry out their plan as the transport Norkova emerges from the wormhole, carrying the Duridium shipment. Just then, an unscheduled runabout departs the station and sets course for the Norkova. Jadzia arrives in ops, reporting that Julian is missing, and the computer confirms that Bashir's access codes authorized the runabout to launch.
It's kind of funny and random that Julian has the authority to launch a runabout anyways. Like, it feels very much like the Starfleet ethos that the senior officers have access to just about everything they might need for the plot, which I get, but really, why does your doctor need to be able to launch a runabout?
Yeah, I mean, medical emergency, maybe everybody else in the senior staff is like,
knocked out by an aphasia virus or something.
Like, just in case.
There's a lot of just in case stuff with Starfleet. Aboard the Norkova, the three mercenaries beam aboard and kill the bridge crew before transmitting the all-clear signal to Vantashir. And I love Siddig's shifty little eyes as Vantashir. It's just so fun. Vantashir sends two of the mercenaries to secure the rest of the ship and is about to lay in a course when the station locks a tractor beam on them.
Vantashir is frustrated by this, thinking he'd sabotage the tractor beam. Cisco hails the ship, and Vantashir introduces himself, demanding that the tractor beam be powered down, or else he'll engage the warp drive, tearing the ship to pieces.
And it's just hailing us. Like, I'm so sorry, Siddig, but I fear we are getting into Jennifer Cisco pilot territory. Like, yeah.
I went to Bill Shatner.
Oh,
like the long pause, hailing us.
But Shatner always had a delivery that was so vivacious,
I'm actually a huge supporter of Bill Shatner as an actor. I don't think his pauses are that obnoxious, but it's it's the bit.
It's not the dramatic pause that bothers me, although that is a little much. It's just like what the delivery. I don't know. I can't explain the delivery. And we should just get into this now. We have to talk about the Vantashir situation of it all. It's bad. It's so bad. It's so bad it's like distracting and lifts you out of the episode, sucking all of the stakes out of the air and just leaving pure camp in its wake. It's so bad. An absolutely bonkers wild fact that I learned doing research for this episode, which just completely changes how I view this last bit with that character, is that according to an interview with Rick Berman, derogatory, all of Siddig's on-set dialogue as Vantashir was cut from the final episode and dubbed over because, quote, Siddig made a choice of a voice that didn't work for us. And so all of a sudden, it makes so much sense.
It explains so much.
The voice and the facial expressions and the physical movements aren't in sync because it's dubbed. Like, it's an absolutely wild choice, as it completely changes the characters or the actor's performance having them do something like this. I mean, from an artistic perspective, I just absolutely fucking hate this choice. We'll never know now if Siddig's original performance of these lines worked or not because Berman decided to just cut and paste over it.
Boo.
Right? So even if Siddig's second voice recording was absolutely incredible, it's still going to come across as weird because he's trying to time it to footage that has already been shot. So that's why there's so much like slow, like dragging the line out to match the physical stuff that's already happening. It's like he's in a dubbing booth, like watching his performance on the screen and trying to match it to that, which is just not going to work in live action where there's so much subtlety to the physical performance.
When I read that, I was like, wow, that explains everything, because his physical acting is so good.
It's so good. And
it's
it makes
excellent.
me really angry on Siddig's behalf, because I know he feels that this episode was his biggest failure as an actor on Deep Space
That wasn't
Nine.
his fault.
And it just wasn't his fault.
As usual, it's fucking Rick Berman's fault.
Rick Berman's fault.
Goddamn Rick Berman.
Yeah, so I and obviously we can't say for sure that the original voice wouldn't have been weird, but I can tell you that the performance would have felt less weird, like not having it be two separate performances Frankenstein together. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
The thing that he said was that the original voice was a little too like Bela Lugosi, like the classic like Dracula, but I think that would have been fucking funny. I would have liked to see that. Like,
then it would be Vantashir, Dracula Belashir,
whatever.
So the warp drive tearing the ship to pieces, to return us to the plot, would not only kill Bashir and the remaining crew of the Norkova, but it would also scatter toxic duridium all across the Bajoran system, which we do not want.
We got to find a way around it.
I do like the twist of like that Julian is both his vessel to surviving and his hostage.
That's fun. Yes, it is a neat like weapon, this resurrection thing, to be like, I not only have brought myself back to life, but have stolen the body of someone you care about. Yeah. That's fun. It makes me think of, well, actually, maybe I'll talk about that in spoilers. So Sisko asks his team for suggestions, and Dax comes up with a specialized EM pulse to disrupt Vantika's control over Bashir, as well as a way to run it along the tractor beam, where it will resonate off the Norkova's shields, and basically, like, I'm picturing the scene from the end of Spider-Man 3, where he's up in the bell tower, just, like, ringing it, and the Venom suit is like, ah!
That's the frequency.
That's the frequency. Yeah. So Sisko attempts to buy Dax time to implement her plan, but Vantashir is understandably suspicious and orders the remaining mercenary to prepare to jump to warp. When the mercenary on the bridge is like, hell no, I'm not about to kill myself for you, Vantashir shoots him point blank with Julian's phaser and asks Sisko, what's it to be?
But it's just enough time, and they send the pulse, and it successfully suppresses Vantika enough for Sisko to get through to a very confused Bashir, who lowers the ship's shields and is beamed away.
And Julian's confusion is played very well here. Very relatable. What's going on?
Yes? What? That's
how I feel when I get to work every day. In her lab, Jedzia has set up a specialized transporter to beam all of Vantika's signature glial cells out of Julian's nervous system and into a small containment field. And so, scanning the unconscious Bashir, Dax pronounces him clear and revives him.
Yay.
I just love when we use transporter, replicator, holodeck, whatever technology for other things like this, like specifically medical things. I just always think it helps the world of the fake science feel more fleshed out. I will never forget there's an episode of Voyager where one of the crew gets their lungs stolen by a race of aliens that steal organs, and the doctor creates a pair of holographic lungs to like sustain them until they get the lung. And I'm like, that's so funny. It's amazing. So dumb, but it's kind of brilliant. Like, why not, right?
I like the micro containment field. I'm like, go to tiny prison.
Go to tiny jail.
Also, Julian waking up goes, I have the worst headache. And it's like, oh, Julian. Yeah. Like, sitcom. Like, oh.
It's very like when he wakes up at the end of the Q episode and everyone is like, oh, yeah, where have you been? And he's like, did I miss something?
Yeah. It's the same vibe.
And so soon after, Sisko, Bashir, and Dax meet with a recovered Kajada who apologizes profusely to Bashir for everything he went through. Julian says that they all owe her an apology for not taking her warnings about Vantika more seriously, and confesses that while he doesn't remember any of what Vantika made him do, he feels humiliated not having been able to stop it.
Poor Julian.
I love how Kajada doesn't need to waste time or energy making Julian feel bad for not listening to her, because she was so clearly right about Vantika the whole time. She just gets to enjoy it.
She's like, yep, everything I said was 100% on point.
Mm-hmm.
So Kajada requests Sisko formally return custody of the prisoner to her. And as soon as he agrees, Kajada draws her weapon and uses it to disintegrate the containment device.
She sure does.
Eliminating the last traces of Vantika forever. She then exits without a word. I'm like... Shouldn't there be some sort of trial?
And they're
Like,
all just kind of in stunned silence. I mean, I think the
Dax looks kind of amused.
Yeah,
actually.
she does. That's true. I thought the implication was that he had already been tried. And that she was
and been like
transporting
sentenced to
him
death or whatever.
Yeah, she was transporting him to prison or to his execution or whatever it was.
I'm just like, it's a weird note to end on with an extrajudicial execution.
It is a weird note to end on,
obviously, he's a war
especially
criminal.
for a Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
Of like, what is the statement that we're trying to make here? And I'm gonna choose that it's believe women, because I don't know how else we can make that fit with the Federation values.
Choose one that works. Hashtag believe women.
And when they tell you that what they need to do is disintegrate the tiny prison, they need to disintegrate the tiny prison. And you should just believe women, because she's been right every other time this episode.
She has, yes. But I'm still like, okay, she was capturing him. Like, she didn't get him on her ship and then kill him.
Immediately,
like,
no, yeah.
He was being transported somewhere. But now she's just at the point, like, not going to do this anymore. I'm going to just execute it. And then I'm getting into the, like, is Kobliad, like, a Federation world?
I feel like they're not. I feel like everything that
yeah.
we get implies that they're not, but it doesn't say for sure.
They're getting help from the feds, the
Yes,
Federation.
yeah.
But so is Bajor. And Bajor's not a Federation
And also,
world.
I feel like there is something in help. There's something in the word help or like assistance or whatever they call it. Because if they were Federation, that's not help. That's just like
being
us.
part of the Federation.
Yeah, that's just exactly. So it's like this is like an outreach effort to be like, yes, you're not a Federation world, but you're a species that's actively dying if you don't have access to these minerals.
So we're going to
like,
help.
Sure, we'll help you get that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a very weird note to end on.
It's very strange. I don't really know what to make of it. I mean, I guess you can... It is worth noting that, like, since being on that prisoner transport, he has since killed, like, at least, like, 3 or 4 more people.
That's
so
true.
maybe that's, like, she's just, I can't risk more people getting hurt because of this man, which I can understand to some extent.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's more personal. Like, it feels like
yeah,
it's when she, like, stabs his dead body with the scalpel earlier,
I
right?
mean, 20 years of, like, Javering it.
Yeah.
Like, but Javert doesn't kill Valjean.
No, that's true. It feels... I'm also watching The Last of Us right now, and it feels very... I don't know if you've ever seen that show.
I know the premise. I haven't watched it.
There's a lot about it that is just exploring, like, the nonsensical human desire for revenge and, like, the ways that revenge is also like a mushroom that takes over your body and
So true.
turns you into a zombie. And, like, just... I think it's interesting here that she is so right throughout the entire thing, but also she is kind of unhinged and, like, she's not thinking what I would call clearly necessarily.
That's
even
fair.
though she is right.
That's fair. And
Anyways.
then roll credits.
Roll credits. What an interesting episode.
What a journey.
Let's hop into our final analysis.
Let's do
What do
it.
you got?
So overall, I feel like the episode works in a lot of ways. I think it doesn't suffer from the pacing challenges that a lot of season 1 does. I think, the couple of red herrings of Kajada, of Primin before the eventual twist. Nice character work all around. We get little bits with, like, Odo and Ben that's really good. I do think it's a bit heavy on the, like, techno-science babble. Like, there are several scenes where it's like, and then Vantika did this, and da-da-da-da-da. How do we rescue Julie? And we do EM, and it's like, it drags a little. It feels a little overwhelming, like it's a little too much.
That is something that I feel like Star Trek suffers from when they try to do the crime procedural angle, is like when you are doing that, you inherently have to accept that part of that is like explaining how it was possible for the crime to happen. And you get really deeply into like the fake science if you're not too careful. I felt like this one did it a bit better than the like, oh, we're growing a clone and like everything
definitely
like that.
better than that one.
But you're definitely right. It is a little heavy on that.
And then also, like I just mentioned, the ending feels very, and now things are fine via summary execution. Weird tone shift.
I would say the saving grace of that ending is how perturbed Benjamin looks. It feels like it's clearly supposed to tell us. I mean, he was the one that almost lost his Duridium shipment, his doctor, possibly his entire station, and the entire Bajoran system over this man. And still, he is unsettled by the way that she just disintegrates his
Yeah.
tiny prison. And maybe that's the note that we're supposed to be left on, right? Is the feeling that, like, it's almost hard to tell Kajada she was wrong to do that, and yet it still feels icky.
Yeah.
Right? Like, maybe that's what we're supposed to be
It's supposed to
sitting
be
with.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
And Ben is sort of the vessel for that in that moment.
All right.
I, for final analysis, had a comparison to another piece of media, which I don't think you've ever seen because you're not big into, like, the DC superheroes at all. But there's a great animated film from, like, the early 2000s or maybe even the late 90s. It's called Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. And if you're not familiar, Batman Beyond is this concept of, like, we're 60 years out from when the regular Batman stories are set. Bruce Wayne has retired and his body is no longer capable of doing the Batman things. And a teenager named Terry McGinnis steals the Batsuit from him, and they sort of begrudgingly become partners. And in this film, it seems as though the Joker has returned. And spoilers for this movie that's like 30 years old. It seems as though the Joker has returned somehow, and Bruce is really freaked out about it and won't be honest with Terry about, like, what supposedly happened around the Joker's death and all of that. Just very like, he's gone. We get flashbacks throughout the episode that show the last fight between Joker and Batman was around Joker kidnapping Robin and subjecting him to weeks of torture and, like, all of this stuff. And basically the way that it all resolves is they discover that when Joker had Robin hostage, not only did he torture him and do all of this stuff to him, but he implanted a little thing in his brain that contained all of the essence of who Joker was.
Oh, no.
And Tim Drake in his 40s is, like, a engineer and, like, retired from, like, anything to do with being a vigilante. And suddenly Joker starts waking up and going out in his body at night. And it's this, when you said the thing about it's his way of coming back, but also it's his hostage. I was like, wow, that's extremely Return of the Joker in the way. And I actually wonder, those two things probably came out.
I was going to say
close to each other.
90s. Yeah,
Let me look up
probably
the release date, 'cause this
simultaneous
was,
or at least close
still?
together.
Return of the Joker release 2000. So it was, like, less than 10 years later. And so I just think that is an interesting comparison point. And the fact that this idea of, like, living on through someone else is an idea that we were very interested in science fiction wise at the time. And then I think comparing and contrasting, you know, Return of the Joker or this episode with something like Dax, where it's like, what's the difference between a version of that contains and centers consent versus one where it's like an assault, right? And a violation of the body and mind. And I actually really wish the most unfavorable comparison I think that we can give between Joker and this is that we don't really get a ton of how it affected Julian.
Yeah.
And that bums me out. Like, it was such a violation of Julian, especially when you consider the fact that Kajada wanted him to leave Vantika dead behind, or to die behind that door. And Julian was like, I'm a doctor. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And for this person to take advantage of his fundamental desire to help others, to hijack his body like that. I mean, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And so I really wish we had gotten more of that. And I think that the parts about that with Tim Drake, with the adult Tim Drake that we get in Return of the Joker, are the strongest parts of that film. And so I wish that they had taken more of a cue from that.
Yeah.
To dive into behind the scenes, the original version of this story by Morgan Gendel featured Vantika possessing Kajada instead of Bashir. So I think the DNA of that is still throughout this episode very much. I mean, clearly they decided to pivot to her being more of a red herring, but He had this quote that, I thought the idea of a cop who's chasing himself was something that you could only do in a science fiction show. And I agree. That's an interesting
fair.
idea.
Yeah, that's fair.
That would have been cool to explore.
Well, it's kind of like spoilers, Shutter Island.
I have not seen.
I haven't seen it, but I know the twist is that like Leonardo DiCaprio murdered his wife or something, and like he's the detective who's investigating it, but it turns out he's the one who killed her.
Oh, that's so
and it's like all in an asylum or something. I haven't actually seen it.
Does he know he's the one that killed her?
Not until the end.
Oh.
So I mean, that's science fiction-y too. That's psychological.
Yeah. When did that come out?
Oh God, I want to say like the 2010.
Oh, okay.
Please hold. 2010.
Got it. This episode's incorporation of the Lieutenant Primin character was actually a concept that had been bandied about a bit beforehand. What I found was that basically they knew that Colmini was going away to do a movie for a bit, so that's why he's not in this episode. He wasn't in the previous one, and I think that was when we get the line about he's visiting Keiko's mother.
Who's turning 100.
Who's turning 100. So that was sort of their plan for him while he was gone, and they were like, okay, while he's gone, we'll bring in this other character to sort of set up this Odo versus Starfleet security plot. And it was only once they started actually working on the plot for this episode, they realized that the Primin character could also serve as a really effective red herring for Vantika, which that did work, I think, a lot better than if they just had him there as a foil for Odo, because it felt like, okay, he's here for more than just one reason.
Yeah.
My favorite behind the scenes note is that for this episode, Morgan Gendel scripted a song for Quark that was ultimately cut. But he says, I had Quark singing a whole little ditty like a hobbit. I took a day to write this ditty about making money while he's serving people and shorting them on their drinks. And I thought it was hysterical, and also thought if I turned it in, they were going to laugh me out of the room.
That's amazing.
It's very funny. It's also, to tie it back in with the reference we've been making this entire episode, it's very Master of the House from Les Mis.
Oh my God.
Just like singing about how you're...
Stop. I need a whole production of Les Mis with like Deep Space Nine characters, and Quark is...
It's maybe the piece of media that has its DNA most intertwined with Deep Space Nine, and we will talk about that more in the spoiler segment. But like, yeah, it's really there, and I can just very easily imagine. I mean, Quark already has big Sacha Baron Cohen energy in like all the good and bad ways that implies, and so I would like to see it personally.
I'm just picturing Quark in like the waistcoat and the Hobbit pants and like the feet.
Hey, that's practically what he wears already.
I mean, it is essentially. He's just a little sparklier than the Hobbits are. The Hobbits
are
more
the dogs out,
plain clothes.
Right.
Amazing. And speaking of Quark,
this episode also marks Quark's first real like major involvement with real crime,
actual crime,
which is interesting. And Armin Shimmerman noted, he was like, I always felt like that was more the vibe in the pilot, and I love the episodes that felt like they got me back to that version of the character I was playing in the pilot. And I agree, he does feel more like that character in this episode. Siddig also, as we mentioned, has publicly said that this episode was the most difficult for him out of DS9's first two seasons, as well as sort of his biggest failure as he sees it. He notes that he only received the script the day before filming began.
That's rough.
Felt like he didn't have adequate time to prepare for the monumental task of acting as Vantika inhabiting Bashir, which 100%
so
agree.
Fair.
I would be so upset if someone tried to tell me to do that.
Yeah.
So, we love you, Siddig, and we don't blame you for what is clearly Rick Berman's fault.
Yes, you are not at fault.
No. Also, yeah. Also, doesn't he play aren't you like obsessed with Gotham, despite the fact that you don't care at all about DC characters?
I blitzed through that show. It is so weird, and fucked up, and campy.
Doesn't he play like a really fucked up, scary Ra's al Ghul in that?
Yeah, he's Ra's al Ghul, and he's phenomenal.
So we know he could have done like a scary Vantika.
100%.
And it just wasn't his fault.
It just was not his fault. It was not the moment.
It's really the only reason I've ever been tempted to go back to Gotham. I watched like the first season, and I was like, Riddler's hot. I don't know why else I'm here, but...
No, so the first season is not the strongest. It really hits its stride in like season 3.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's where you start getting, like, Penguin doing, like, musical numbers that Riddler is hallucinating. Oh, it's phenomenal.
Okay, well,
it leans into its campiness, like, season 2, season 3.
Okay, that's perfect. I will have to circle back to that.
I would recommend going back to it.
Lastly, for behind the scenes, Caitlin Brown's performance in this episode as Kajada did lead to her being cast as Vakor in the TNG two-parter Gambit, which is a very fun couple of episodes.
Love that.
So, love that for her.
We love a cross-show track actor.
Yeah. And also, like, when it's like someone comes in and gives such a dynamite performance that they have to keep casting them. And it's true. She does a great job in this episode. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Next, we're going to pivot into our design corner, where we talk about all of the design elements that resonated with us, that we loved, that stood out to us.
Lots of great ones.
In this episode. Yeah.
The Norkova Bridge, absolutely phenomenal.
Sick as fuck.
So good.
I feel like it's rare that we get a civilian Federation ship. It's usually either fully civilian or fully Starfleet.
Yeah.
And this in between is really cool. They've got like LCARS displays, which is the library computer access retrieval system that Starfleet uses. So when you see those like brightly colored like geometric
shapes,
whatever, that's the LCARS system. They've got very fun looking geometric consoles, columns with these neon light displays, and some very fun and unique uniforms for the ship's crew.
Great PJs.
They are. I really enjoy how the uniforms feel reminiscent of the civilian like jumpsuit styles that we see characters like Jake wear, which are the PJs, the space PJs, but with an obviously more like uniform quality to them, right?
It actually made me think of AOS, the 2009 Star Trek, where it's the Kobayashi Maru, and they're all in these like blue jumpsuits, and it very much put me in the mind of that.
Yeah. That's a good comparison. I also want to note that the bridge of the Norkova that they use in this episode is a redressed version of the Saratoga from the pilot, which is itself a redress of the bridge of the Excelsior from Star Trek 6, 6, which is a redress of the Enterprise A bridge from Star Trek 5. So
this bad boy can fit so many bridges in it.
So many Star Treks up in this bridge.
We love recycling. It's so green.
It's interesting because it is a redress, but it's like they did more on this one. Like it doesn't look like a Starfleet bridge. Really
no, it
anymore,
doesn't.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted to highlight?
The Cobliads, we love a weird forehead, classic alien look.
Yeah.
And we talked about this during the episode, the Space Mercenaries. I love the space fabrics, the like jewelry.
Yeah.
They're like space pirates. It's great.
And one of them, we got another case of, I think this came up in the Q-less episode, but of like an alien feature styled as hair. Like that one mercenary has like a little spiky beard that's like fins. And I'm like, I always love it. I'm always a sucker for it. But yeah, lots of good design stuff this episode.
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this episode and our discussion of The Passenger.
We have one final segment left in today's episode, a little something we like to call Consulting the Orb of Prophecy, where we look ahead into the future of the series and discuss spoilers that relate to this week's episode.
If you've watched DS9 before, or you just don't mind spoilers, stick around after we sign off for that discussion. If you're watching along with us for the first time and don't want to be spoiled for future episodes, you're going to want to hop off after the sign-off.
The Star Trek Deep Space Nine Paramount cast is recorded in San Diego, California, and produced by us, as well as our security officer, Peter.
A big thanks to the friend of the show, Matt, who produced our theme music, and to Tumblr user at GrandCon221B, whose Star Trek pit crew was used to generate the avatars of us featured in the show's cover art.
New episodes drop every week on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
If you have any questions, comments, or would like to chat with us about Star Trek, you can email us at ds9cast@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky at ParamountCast for updates and memes.
Last but not least, if you're enjoying the show, please review and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other folks to find the show. And please join us next week for our discussion of Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 9, Move Along Home. Infamous. Bye. Bye. We'll see you next time. wielding the orb of prophecy.
Prophecy,
the segment where we step out of our linear existence and get all jiggly with the future.
Get the woo 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 with it.
What do we got today, Steph? What are we thinking for non-linear time?
Okay.
The destiny we were always destined to destine.
To take.
Yeah.
When Quark tells Odo it's good to want things, and Odo says, even things you can't have. Kira.
Yeah, 100%. There's like, he's saying out loud, even things you can't have. And inside he's going, even things you can't have? It's just, yeah, I also know that.
Oh, like, it was like Kira in big neon lights above Odo's head.
A big marquee. Just
Yep.
like, yeah.
Kira!
100%. The other thing that I had was also an Odo item. I just thought it was really funny. So if you've watched this show before, you know that about a season from now, or maybe 2 seasons, something like that, we're going to get pretty much this exact same thing that we got in this episode with Primin, with a character called Lieutenant Commander Eddington. He's going to show up, and Odo's going to be fucking upset about it, and is going to resign, and he and Ben are going to have the exact same conversation. Only this time, it will not be a red herring, because Eddington actually is Javert or Valjean, depending on how you look at it.
Depending on your reading.
Yeah, all these Les Mis parallels in this episode are just very interesting given the Eddington of it all. It's very this, like, he sees himself as Valjean running from Javert, who is the obsessed policeman who is chasing him for stealing a loaf of bread, and he's so, like, on his high horse about it. And there's a lot of, like, political complexity to discuss with the Maquis, and I don't want to get too deeply into that in this before we've even really, like, seen them.
Yeah.
But Eddington himself is mostly a punk, and
Fucking punk.
and so it is just like he's obsessed with that book, and I think it's very interesting that it recurs so much, at least thematically throughout this episode.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I feel like genetically enhanced Julian Bashir probably shouldn't have been able to be possessed, but doesn't his brain have a firewall? Sure seems like his brain has a firewall later.
That's true. Well, they didn't know yet.
They didn't know. That episode hadn't
That's
been
one that
written
is
yet.
just like, we hadn't come up with that plot point yet.
The destiny we were not always destined to take,
We were not always
apparently.
destined to take
But
it.
now we are.
Now we are.
Now we are always destined to
And now
take
we
it.
know we're destined to take it.
And we love to be destined to be on that journey.
I mean, like, Vantica's supposed to be like a super genius, right? And he's like this scientific mind, and maybe he's just that good at overriding brain fire.
Jesus Christ.
Ah.
Yeah, maybe he brought his brain firewall key.
I'm trying to give the writers the benefit of the doubt
And
here.
that's very sweet of you.
I'm a hell of a guy.
You are, it's true. Well, speaking of the destiny we were always destined to take, we are so happy to be destined to be on this journey with you.
We are.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us again. We so appreciate all of you who are listening to our silliness and our analysis.
We love doing this, and we hope that you are loving listening to it.
We hope that you are loveless.
We hope that you are loving listening to it. We are not like Odo. We don't hope that everyone in the galaxy will be just as lonely and miserable as us, although maybe sometimes on
Just
a bad day.
in our heart of hearts on occasion.
Anyways, bye! We'll see you next time!